Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to share or introduce to you today's presenters. We have Katharine, Hale, Kelly Purman, and students Valeria and Pranav, who are here today to talk to us about teaching writing and identity through series blogging. Now, Katharine Hale is an Apple Distinguished Educator and works with students and educators at Gunston Middle School to integrate technology and into the classroom in meaningful ways. Now, Kelly Purman has been teaching middle school for 5 years and is passionate about reading and writing as a platform for students to find their voice. And they have their amazing students, Pranav and Valeria, to share with us their experiences as well. I want to remind everyone that throughout today's session, you can ask questions or comment by using the hashtag #TheEdCollabGathering9. The #TheEdCollabGathering9, and you'll see that on my lower, right underneath my name there. Now I want to turn it over to our team. Welcome, and Katharine, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, this is Katharine Hale. I'm super excited to be here. And one little secret actually that you guys might not know is that Vivian is also a teacher at our school, Gunston Middle School. So we're super excited that all three of us get to be here with students representing Gunston. And we're going to be talking about something really special and really close to my heart. And before we go ahead and get started with that, I kind of want Kelly and our students to say hi first before we jump in.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Kelly Purman. As Vivian said, I'm a 7th grade middle school English teacher. I have my wonderful students here with us, Pranav and Valeria, who decided to share their Saturday with us. I'm really excited to share with all of you what we do and what our students do on a daily basis.
Hi, I'm Pranav, and I'm in 7th grade.
Hi, I'm Valeria. I'm also in 7th grade, and we're excited to be here today.
Awesome. So they are going to be such a treat because they're going to sort of share a different perspective from the student's perspective. So what you see right now, you should see my screen with the slide and my face on the side, and we're going to kind of have some visuals to support what we are talking about. So today we really wanted to highlight blogging in a very unique way called branded blogging. It started in my classroom in 5th grade a couple of years ago when I started thinking about what does writing really mean and look like in the real world and what that should look like in the classroom. So one of the first things that when we say branded blogging, we hear the word brand, we think of the typical brand names, such as like Ralph Lauren, Coca-Cola, and all of that. But to us, brands almost have a very artificial connotation, sometimes even a very negative connotation from it. But one thing that I've been reading a lot on is something that even like Jerry McLaughlin from Forbes mentioned, is that your brand sort of has changed now. Branding isn't just an artificial title or label or product. It can really be just something that exists in someone's mind when you think of something, meaning that a brand doesn't have to be a name anymore. It can be a person. It could be a topic that we think about, or like a restaurant. When I think of a restaurant like Guapo's in my neighborhood, that brand is this like homey neighborhood Mexican restaurant that a lot of people like to go to. And so that led me to this thinking of, you know, regardless even if our students wanted to or not, they already have, so to speak, brands that were given to them and maybe not necessarily something that they have chosen for themselves. Kind of like this. So these are almost like labels that we have placed on our students unintentionally. Our students they see each other as maybe, oh, that's a star student, this one's a struggling reader. Like they know like, oh, this student is really shy, like I'm somebody who, you know, is really funny and everybody thinks I'm funny. Those brands may not have been ones that they choose for themselves. And what if we were able to give them that opportunity to choose? what if through writing students could tell a new story or an additional story or a different story? And that to me is a different definition and is what we're trying to say today as far as brand, almost like metaphorically, that we are wanting our students to maybe be able to find their own brand, tell a different brand, one that they get to choose, not us. And I want to tell you guys this story of one of my students, Maya, in 5th grade. And she is a great example of how we are realizing that writing today, it's not isolated writing anymore in the real world. Writing doesn't stand alone. It's part of something much bigger, like a brand. So for example, with Maya and with a lot of my students in 5th grade, we started looking at a lot of the reading that we do online. And when you read online, you don't just look for one piece of article or one piece of text. You actually go to a place that we trust, or like a brand that we trust. So like CNN. I would like to read the news at CNN because I trust the information, the opinions of CNN. And if you can see, it's not just one article. It's a combination. It's accumulating a lot of different articles under one brand. And then the same too with blogs these days. So like if I really want to find a great recipe, I often go back to the same blog, like Skinny Taste, that has really great recipes that I trust. And even about things that we believe in, if we, when we read about things, and we want to write about our stuff, we find blogs about something we believe in. This is actually the blog that my professor that sort of just made me who I am today, Dr. Thomas, his scholarship, Becoming Radical blog post is all about these different educational topics that he really wants to push the envelope and give us a different light on it, and I like to read them. And so with Maya, she decided, you know what, in class I'm seen as, and she knows it too, like she's an introvert, she's shy, everybody loves her though, she doesn't have like that negative reputation at school, but no one sees her maybe in this way as someone who's also like a funky fashionista. And so she started writing, and her writing about Disney looks meant that she went home and took time with her friends to get dressed up in modern versions of Disney characters and then write about it. And then she ended up writing more different fashion-related topics on sweaters versus hoodies or socks for days. And if you can see, even down here, these are actually graphics that she created, even though they look so professional. And so we found out that on top of this identity of, okay, so she's an introvert, she might be shy, but now she's a fashionista. Oh wait, now we've also realized that she's a graphic designer, and she's talented, she's gifted, and she's got this great voice in her. It's sort of like her brand has broadened and changed, and we see her in a different light for that. And then it went on where she ended up wanting to have her personal blog after 5th grade, and she now wants to add a name to this brand, the Top Hats and Turtles fashion blog, with the fonts and everything that she wanted. And so one day she came to me and she said, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night and with this awesome blog idea, and I didn't know what to do. Like, is this normal? And I was like, yes, sweet, amazing Amaya. Like, this is what writing is about. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you think of an idea and you can't go back to sleep, like, that's writing. And how much do we do that for our students? How often can we allow our students to have that experience in class? And so branded blogs today, when we talk about it, means writing becomes more than an assignment. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes something you'll hear from our students, how they don't think about writing just in the classroom. They think about writing outside of the classroom when they're doing things that they love, that they identify with, and bring it back into their writing. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I want Kelly and the students to first share about what does blogging look like in middle school and what their blogs are about before we get into the process. Go ahead, Kelly.
All right, guys. Hey. Okay, so when Katharine first approached me with this idea about blogging, I thought it was a great idea. It was something that I had done in the past. I had used KidBlog as a platform before to do blogging in my classrooms, but it looked a lot different. It was a very teacher-directed way of blogging. It was very much I'm telling the kids what to do, and then they're doing it, and it's very kind of not authentic. And so when we got talking about the different ways that these blogs were going to look, I started to really get excited because I'm now going to be able to see the actual students as students outside of their school selves. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I want to share a couple examples of some of the different brands that the students have written their blogs about. You just give me 1 second here. Okay, so you should still be able to see me at the bottom. Okay, so this first example is a student. His name is Sebastian, and he does wargaming. And so wargaming, from what I know about it, he takes small figurines and he paints them and creates them, and then he takes them to these competitions and competes. And if you look at the screen, this is his interface of all of the different blogs that Seb has written. These are not blogs that I've told him he has to write. These are totally his choice. What I notice a lot with the students blogging is that they're taking their hobbies and they're taking things that they're interested in outside of school, and they're bringing it into the classroom, into their writing. He's really taken ownership of this blog, and if you look, he's posting all the time. And I'm not telling him, okay, Seb, you have to post a blog post, you have to post a blog post. He's doing it. He's doing it on his own because it's something that he's interested in and something that he loves. So I'm going to go into what one of his blog posts looks like. This is just a small chunk of what one post might look like. He talks about how to play Warhammer 40, and that is totally something that I know nothing about, that he is able to go in and explain himself in so much detail. And then if you look on the right, he also brings in these charts that he's creating on his own. And so he's also bringing multimedia into this and sharing information. Another student that I have, Bobby, he has a passion for baking and cooking, and he immediately shared with me that he wanted to do a baking blog, and I thought this was fantastic. So Bobby decided, this is one of his first posts that he did back in the fall for delicious pumpkin cupcakes, and I've never seen someone's face light up so much about an idea. So he did the delicious pumpkin cupcake post, but not only did he do the post, he also gave me a step-by-step in photo. And if you actually look at his blog, these photos are placed in his blog where they belong in the sequence. And the best part of this entire blog post was that this picture on the right here, these cupcakes were brought in and shared, and they were delicious. And so what I think is so important about this is this wasn't something that I told Bobby he had to write about. He chose this topic. He chose this post. He created these cupcakes and brought them in, and that was all because of this idea of blogging. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Pranav and Valeria and let them show you what their brands are and what they've chosen to write about, because you'll notice throughout our presentation with the wargaming and the baking and the cooking, you're going to see so many different brands from all of my students.
All right, thank you, Ms. Purman. My brand is about art technique, and the reason I chose it is because I want to help people draw. I want to see them flourish in the area. Okay, sorry for that. This is one of my posts, Tone Tan and White Paint, and it's basically just a tutorial on a special way to paint and draw on brown paper. Okay. These are, as I would say, step-by-step drawings of the steps in the tutorial. It's kind of more like a visual aid to help people see what's going on. And this is an extension, for example, something more advanced artists could do. So it's a way to expand to see what other things you could do.
And my brand is the culture of India, and I'm writing about India so that people could know more about it. And this is one of my blog posts, and this is about the festivals celebrated in India. Here I mentioned a few festivals, and then I have some pictures of the festivals. Yes, and then that's it.
All right, I think we'll hand it back to you guys.
Okay, so you're going to hear back about these different blog ideas or brands of theirs in a second. And what we want to talk about right now is about where do you begin with something like this? Because just like with everything, is that the beginning process is probably 10 times even more important than the product at the end. So process for me is always more important than product. And in the very beginning, I want to share with you guys 4 tips that both Kelly and I stress in the very beginning of helping our students find their brand. Brand takes a long time. So the first thing, and I'm actually going to just hold up signs because to kind of give a break from like slides. So the first thing is read. Letting our students read mentor texts. And in this case, the mentor texts will be real blogs. And so we did a lot of inquiry on looking at cooking blogs, sports blogs, all kinds of these different blogs that we see in the real world, just to kind of get them to see like what is good about a blog, what's in a blog, what can I write about, like looking at how it's multiple posts about one thing. Then the second thing that we focus on is I like to call nudge, or how can we nudge our students to think about what they're interested in. It's sort of like just helping them brainstorm. And so here's a chart that I often might create, and we would build, like these would be 4 separate different lessons where let's think about the interest that you have and maybe do a quick list of different things that you're interested about. Think about what happens in your life outside of school that you do often. And then Sarah actually was just talking about identity maps this morning, and that's a huge thing that I like to have our students do. And then the last thing that really helps is just asking your peers, okay, so what do you notice about me? And that was actually how Maya really got her idea. And Valeria, can you quickly talk about like during this, like why you talked to us the other day about why like this nudging process was pretty key for you and helping you figure out your topic.
Sure, I mean, to me, nudge was important because Miss Purman gave me enough time to come up with my idea. So it's something that really is special to me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that you just needed time, and we don't give enough time for our students often to really think about this idea. And that usually is all they need to, write long and write strong for the rest of the year. So the third tip I'm going to give you is listen in. So kid listening. So it's just because we teach lessons and we do we have them read mentor texts, there's a whole nother level in really listening in to every single student, hearing them talk back to you, and listening to see like, is this really something that they could write a lot about? Are they really passionate about it? And so I kind of wanted Pranav and I to talk about this because Pranav, in fact, he was somebody that I went to confer with, and I was like, okay, so tell me about what you think you're going to write about. And from that, I realized like, I don't know if this is actually a topic that he could write a lot about and would really love. And then Pranav, can you go ahead and share about that experience?
Yeah. First I wanted to write I wanted my blog to be about sports, but I wasn't sure about like how I could write it or what I could write. And then I talked to Miss Hale, and then we had a conversation. So after that, like it came up that I could write about my culture about India, and at that time, like I was more excited and I was feeling better. Like I was I was happy, and
Yeah, and I think that one thing I noticed from listening to you talk about sports was that like you were like, well, I like soccer, and then I said, well, can you tell me a previous experience about soccer? And you're like, well, not really. And then I said, okay, so I guess we got on a long conversation about life, and then you ended up sharing with me something about your Indian culture, and I was like, whoa, I had no idea about that. Like, I don't know anything. And it looked like for you, it was like this like light bulb turned on, and you could on paper come up with all these different ideas and topics you could write about your Indian culture. Yeah.
yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So the last little tip I want to give you guys is what Pranav and I just actually mentioned is trying it out. So before we actually going public with a brand, one way to try it out is having students really do like a list of 10. So can you, or a list of 5, can you quickly, if you were to write blog posts tomorrow, can you quickly jot down 5 to 10 different blog post ideas? You don't have to write them, but just ideas about that topic. And if you can, that means that this brand will probably last a pretty long time for you. You have a lot to say. And if you don't, that try is like a great way as like the last little like double check before realizing like, are we ready to go forward, or let's go back and try some other strategies. So now Kelly is going to kind of talk about, after we go through this process, you know, we want to be realistic that it's not easy all the way through, that there's a lot of moves that a teacher has to make. So Kelly's going to share about that.
Okay. Share. Okay, so a lot of what Ms. Hale talked about, Katharine talked about, was how we get kids started and how do we get them to start thinking about what they want their blogs to be about. And at that point, they are excited because this is this new idea of writing. They get to pick their topic, they're picking their brand, and it's new and exciting and fun for them. So we start the blogging process, what we did this year in September, and now we're in April, and how do we keep that stamina for staying interested in these blogs? I mean, yes, they're still writing about their brand and what they like and what they enjoy, but eventually it becomes something that they've just been doing all year, and we need to find a way to make sure that they're still excited about it. Not only excited about it, but making sure that they're still generating blog ideas. So how do we assist the kids who are struggling throughout the process? So Ms. Hale and Pranav had a conversation before he even started writing his blog that he did not want to do sports and he wanted to do his culture. But there are often times during the process where students are writing and it's just not connecting. So the first thing that I really try to talk to my students about is that we can abandon what we have if we know that there's something more we can write about. I had one student who just wouldn't get posts written, and she was struggling. She was trying to do a baking and cooking blog, and I think she was trying to do it because a lot of other people were doing it. It seemed like it was an easy topic, but she just wasn't invested. So she had written 2 or 3 blog posts that, you know, were average. She wasn't super excited about them, and so her and I sat down and we talked, and she decided she wanted to stick with cooking and baking, but she wanted to go a little bit more in depth about her culture and her Hispanic culture and some Hispanic cooking and be a little more authentic with it. So we abandoned her first idea and we turned it a little bit, tweaked it a little bit to make it what she wanted it to be. And so it's important for the students to know that they don't have to please me as a teacher and stick with their original idea. They can abandon and choose something that they feel very passionately and strong about. Another way to help students within the process is to just listen to them. I have one student who has a great blog about travel, but every week, never fails, he comes in and he says, Miss Purman, I'm not sure what I want to write about this week. And so I say, okay, well, we have a list of all of the places that he's been. I said, pick one and tell me about it. And I just listen. Sometimes I might make some notes. I might jot some things down on a Post-it so that I don't forget, and then I can give it to him after we're finished talking. But I just listen to what he has to say. And then he'll look up at me and he'll say, oh, that's my blog post. And so sometimes just being that listening ear and having the students tell us their experiences, they can then turn them into those blog posts and not really realizing that they're doing their planning as they're talking. And I'm just there to listen. Peer-to-peer inspiration. A lot of the times when students are struggling with ideas, I tell them to go onto, we're using KidBlog as our platform, I tell them to go into KidBlog and look at what their classmates are doing. Find a blog that is the same brand. So if you are a cooking and baking blog or a travel blog or a fashion blog, see if you have any peers that have similar blogs that you can get inspiration from. I had one student who never has a problem coming up with ideas, and she was struggling with this past post because she just didn't have an idea. She does a baking blog, and so I said to her, Bobby, the student I showed the example of earlier with the cupcakes, I said he's doing a St. Patrick's Day themed cupcake because of the holiday. And that sparked something in her where she's like, oh yeah, the holiday is coming up. I want to do something St. Patrick's Day inspired too. And that helped her. So using their peers' blogs and even just having conversations with their peers. A lot of times in class, when there's downtime, I will walk around and find students talking to one another about their blogs. And for them to be able to share their posts with their peers, I think is really beneficial and helpful. And finally, in addition to that, when they comment on one another's blogs, I'll go into the blogs often, and I will notice that they are always consistently commenting on one another's blogs. Some of them will actually write comments and say, hey, I think you should do a post about this. And then that post will show up. So their peers, I think, are the biggest source of inspiration for them, especially at this point. Sharing personal blog experiences and knowledge. The reason I really took ownership of this blogging series with my students because I myself love to read and engage in blogs. And so for me, when a student is struggling, I like to share what I know about blogs with them. I have one student who's doing a fashion blog, and her blog posts are great, but they're very similar to one another. And so we sat down and talked about, okay, what can a fashion blog look like? And I don't really, fashion is not my focus, but I was able to tell her, you know, based on blog posts that I've read before, I've seen different outfit collections that you could do. With award season, you could do reviews of the Oscars or the Emmys and how the celebrities are dressing. And so by sharing those personal experiences and things that I've read or that I've seen, I was able to spark an interest in her. And then share additional mentor texts. We introduced the blogging series with mentor texts. We show the students a variety of blogs on different topics, but it's important to not forget that you can continue to show mentor text to the students as you're going. So I'm referring back to him again, but Bobby, who did his baking blog, at times when he's pulling for an idea, I actually went out to find another male who does a baking blog to show him, and this was very recently. And so now he has that new mentor text and some of those new examples to go off of and give him inspiration. So I think that it's really important to make sure that a mentor text can be used, you know, throughout, especially with blogs, because there are so many out there and there's so many good ones that the students can use for their inspiration. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Pranav, and they are going to give you a little bit of information on how they keep their blogs going, how they continue to find ideas for writing, and where they get their inspiration from.
And actually, Kelly, if you don't mind going ahead and leaving your screen on right now. I think we're having just a little bit of a tech difficulty, which is no big deal. So if you click on your screen, Kelly, and then click on Pranav and Valeria's face, so that we'll just, in case that the live screen isn't actually showing our faces, at least if it's showing your face, it's able to also see their screen.
Okay, so can you see right now?
Yeah, can you also close out the chat box on the right side?
Yep.
To make it bigger. Okay, cool. And then make that screen like as big as possible. And then Pranav and Valeria, you guys can go ahead and share your part. Go.
So what inspires my posts? Or how I keep on how I get ideas for my posts. So my inspiration is basically like I find words from my after I write my blog post, and then after I read them, I get like some words. Like in this blog post, I was writing about the languages of India, and then when I came to the language spoken in Kerala, then I thought that I could write about Kerala for my next blog post. So that's how I get ideas for my blog posts. And then how I add media to my blog posts. I always put the pictures after I write the whole blog post, and I put pictures so that people could like visualize what's actually happening, or what do they do, or how it looks like. And it also makes the it also makes the blog post more interesting. And in this one, this is a picture from one of my blog posts about the festivals of India. And how do I keep on writing in my blog posts? Um, or how do I keep on adding? So I usually give a personal opinion. In this blog post, I was writing about different types of food eaten in India. So I like I mentioned what food I like or what I don't like. So yeah, that's how I like extend my post.